Hello there, gorgeous human souls, awakening beings. How are you doing?
Hello,
Rosanna, Rozyglow Hannah's here.
awakening beings. How are you
Getting
doing?
rid of the echo. There we go. Every time I forget. Right, I wanted to jump on a live today as we are about to peak the full moon in Leo. And oh my goodness, is this an amazing time to be alive? Is this an amazing time to witness what is going on in the world? And I wanted to just highlight the title here. A new era is birthed. Believe in the best outcomes the women's way. Now, Kate Coulson, I am quoting you a lot. And if people don't know who Kate Coulson is, she is my senior coach who assists me in the Fearless, Loved Up and Limitless program. And when I step back from being lead coach, she's going to be the one stepping in. And here's what we both have in common. I have a very, very strong balanced inner masculine and inner feminine. And I mean the evolved, resolved version of our inner masculine and feminine, not the ones that we were born with, because if you've been watching what I've been talking about for a while, you'll know that when we incarnate as light workers, starseeds, empaths, we buy into the programming of our bloodline ancestors. We actually forget our mastery. It's temporary because we've set up all these different fail safes for ourselves in this lifetime ahead of time so that we can remember our mastery through the trials and tribulations we actually go through. However, we are so well conditioned as humans that we end up, just like all mammals, all animals on this planet, we will become incredibly loyal to our programming. And there's this misplaced loyalty towards those who bring us life, those who gift us life, that can end up causing us a lot of problems. So we're all here as we're going through this mass ascension of humanity, this birth canal from the old world to the new world. We're all here to practice discernment and to essentially take the best, leave the rest, which means sift through the ancestral programming, give thanks for the programming that supports you. All the areas of your life where things are going easy, thank you, ancestors. Thanks for the programs that I have inbuilt in me, because they are helping me to exist on this planet and get on with my soul mission. But for all those places where you feel challenged, where it seems like you're in lack, limitation, stress, struggle, fear, then you know you've inherited some dodgy programming that needs to be addressed. And this is exactly what my programs are about. This is exactly why Rozyglow exists, and it's exactly why Star Peace exists, because we are here to rewrite the collective narrative of humanity. Nothing small. You know, we're here to move from the survival book. We've done that for so long now. We're opening up and we're rewriting that book into the thriving book. What does that look like for humanity? That's exactly what we're here to do. That's what we're here as way showers, luminaries, trailblazers to do in this world. And firstly, we must activate these codes in ourselves, which means we bring our soul self to embed into our human self so that we can remember our mastery and forgive those who have brought hurt into our lives. It's part of our journey. Okay, life isn't all about being on a bed of roses. Remember, a bed of roses has thorns too, right? We learn through everything, including pain, but we've got a little bit hooked up on learning through pain as the only way to learn. So let's put that aside. Let's look at the gifts that this full moon in Leo is giving us. And whenever you're actually watching this video is perfect. It doesn't matter if the full moon is over. It doesn't matter if the events I'm talking about are over. What matters is you receive this message, because this message is basically the heralding of this new earth paradigm. Now, we've had the era of matriarchy, we've had the era of patriarchy. What we haven't had yet is the era of uniarchy, which is the era of the star child, the divine child, the integrated divine soul human. Now, if you don't like the word divine, I get it, okay? There's all sorts of conditioning we've had that basically says anything spiritual, anything that is, you know, has connotations of source, a higher power, gets linked to religion. And, you know, those of us who have seen the limitations of religion, and those of us who've seen the limitations of science too, because there are limitations everywhere, because we're fallible humans with blind spots, essentially will know that it's very easy to proverbially throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that means to say, well, I don't resonate with religion because religion is a control tactic that is used to control people through fear, not to question authority, etc., etc. And actually, therefore, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the divine, because what I've been told to believe, I don't resonate with. Now, I have written a whole post, which I think I'm going to put with this video. For those of you who want to read it, it'll be in the text box, depending whether you see this on YouTube or you see this on my other channels. I'm going to just put it all in there, because this is the rising now of what I would call the women's way. But it's actually, that's something that that Kate came up with, and I totally resonate because it's about the divine feminine. It's about the resolved feminine woman's way, which is to lead us out of the patriarchal paradigm and to forgive ourselves for all the times and places where we have bought into that paradigm as women or men, or also those who don't identify with either gender, which has its perks, by the way, in the terms of being able to see things beyond gender. There is definite value to that. But essentially, what this comes down to is learning not to emulate the wounded masculine as a way of actually moving forward in life and creating this new world paradigm. So what do I mean? Let's unpack this, and we're going to keep it short because what I want you to do really out of today is get excited. You know, we're moving into a time now where the feminine is no longer tolerating what is unacceptable. Okay. And because those of us who are in skin suits that have feminine genitalia and boobs, etc., are going, no, we're not doing it this way anymore. This is having an impact on everybody because we're the ones with the wombs that birth the next generation. Okay. And I'm not up for changing that. Okay, I'm not up for that. I'm not up for babies being born in pseudo wombs. There are benefits to that because they wouldn't actually receive the conditioning that gets passed from one generation to the next. But you know what? We know how to clear that conditioning up so that we only pass on what is beneficial and we transmute that which is potentially challenging. And that's where we are today. We have the wisdom to do that. And that's why it's so exciting. We've got so many amazing luminaries on this planet, all in different guises, teaching different things that all relate to this. Okay, so I'm very excited to say that really what we want to do is celebrate seeing evidence of change. Have you tuned in to looking for the evidence of change? Have you tuned yourself into being solution focused, or are you still gassing about the problems in your own life or in the world? Because the way we are going to shift from war to peace, from conflict to resolution, is going to be to shift our focus, our lens. What are we looking at? Are we looking at what we can create, something new out of something old? Or are we saying, because this is the way it's been for so long, it's the way it's always going to be? That, squish it now. That's the old way. That's when you let the brain dominate. That's when you allow the patriarchal paradigm to continue. Now, there is a certain masculine in this world and his brother, AT are the initials of this particular masculine that, you know, says some very sensible things, calls out some stuff that needs to be called out. If you want to use that word, I much prefer shedding light or bringing light to something. The problem is this particular individual and his brother are also passing on a whole load of patriarchal BS as part of their big message. And BS, I'm going to take and quote Bruce Lipton and call it belief system. Okay. It is not the time for the masculine to rise again, take arms and push forward. Not in that way. That's not what this is about. Any more than it's about bowing down to a wrathful God that, by the way, has been made in our fallible image. That's not the divine, okay? This God, this wrathful God that judges, condemns, that will decide whether you go to heaven or hell, that will make you be punished, whether you believe in reincarnation or you believe in the idea that birth should be painful because of a previous sins. This is nonsense. It's poppycock. It's utter BS belief system that has been perpetuated for so long that we believe it is true. The divine is not a fallible masculine. Okay, sorry, not. That is not the truth. And if that offends you, sorry about that. Maybe you don't want to be in my sphere of influence. That's okay. Off you go. All right. I'm not going to be offended by that. I'm here for those of you who are awakening to the fact that every one of us has an inner masculine, an inner feminine, an inner mother, an inner father, an inner child, an inner teen, an inner adolescent, an inner toddler, an inner infant, an inner embryo, an inner fetus, you name it. We have all these different levels of our own consciousness and existence through time and space. And in this life, our relationship to the divine, our connection to sacred union is only as healthy as our relationship to our inner mother and our inner father, which, guess what, is based on the relationship we had with the mother role in our lives, the father role in our lives. And that can be very complex or very simple. Were your biological parents the ones who brought you up? Did you have step parents? Did you have adopted parents? Did you have foster parents? Did you have aunts, uncles step in to take on this role? Grandparents even. anyone who had a major influence on you under the age of 7 in terms of the masculine and the feminine is going to be contributing to your relationship to the divine, your concept of the divine. Now, my husband and I talk about this all the time because he hates the word God, and he really does not like, well, religion at all, as do most of his friends. And I get that, you know, like there's been a lot of problems that have been caused, including many wars in the name of religion and the divine. And this is just, again, the fallible human. Okay. What is happening at the moment is there is a rising in the feminine, but this is not the wounded feminine. This is the rising of the feminine power, the women's way, that allows us to be soft and strong at the same time, that allows us to show that our vulnerability is our strength, that allows us to step forward and go, no, we're not doing that anymore. No, I'm not putting up with that anymore. This is my boundary. If you carry on like this, this is what happens. And we are consistent and we show up. Instead of being that parent that loves you one minute and shouts at you the next, we're consistent in the delivery of our message. We choose to see the good in everyone. We know how to be discerning and to expect the best, but also to recognize when what we're expecting of others isn't really going to be possible. And the discernment piece is interesting because when it comes to our children, I have come across many, many women presently who are dealing with issues with their sons. Okay. And on the one hand, it is, you know, there could be teenage sons, adolescent sons, even older sons, younger sons, but effectively, we are the ones that are molding the next generation of masculines. Okay. This comes from the time in the womb, how supported we felt by our partners when we were growing our baby, whether we knew the baby was a boy or a girl, doesn't really matter. What matters is, did we feel held, supported? Did we feel nurtured and nourished? Did we feel like we had plenty? Or were we constantly running on empty, stressing about various factors that could occur? This is really important because if we don't feel held to hold, right, there's going to be some issue there, and we're going to be more likely programming our children to survive rather than thrive, which we can overcome, by the way. And I've been sharing many examples of that in my videos lately. But really, what I would love for you to take from this video today, this message, is that with this Leo full moon, we're getting to see the bigger picture. We're getting to see an image of what is possible. What I'm inviting you to is to believe before you see, which is the women's way as well. It's when the heart can sense things before we can see it in the world around us. Now, this organ, the heart, connects us to our soul self. The brain organ connects us to our ancestral programming. Okay, our bloodline programming, our survival programming for the most part. Now, I'm not asking you to choose between your head and your heart. I'm just asking you to make a decision as to which part of you is going to lead you. Your heart, which can access your eternal nature and communicate with your head, your brain, and therefore take the best from your programming to support you. Or are you going to defer and default to your brain time and again, which is what the wounded masculine does? It's what the patriarchy does. And we say, oh, okay, well, you know, because this has happened in the past, this is what's going to happen in the future. And there's no room for maneuver here. You know, when we look at our sons, for example, in this way, we say, well, our son's done this in the past, or this is what's happened for the masculines in the past. Therefore, this is all that can happen in the future. Therefore, we have to deal with it this way. We're letting go of shame. We're letting go of guilt. We're letting go of blame. All of these are control tactics that keep us locked into this old paradigm. And the patriarchal paradigm is wounded, okay? I remember-ish the time of the matriarchy, and I do get this strong sense that that wasn't any more balanced than we are now. There were elements that were much healthier than the patriarchal system, but we wouldn't have got to where we are now if everything was completely imbalanced then. It's not about one sex being subservient to the other, just like, you know, when we look at the brain and the heart, they have different roles, but the heart leads the way because the heart can sense things before the brain can. So that is a natural sort of strength, if you like, in the same way that if we're looking typically at the masculine and the feminine, typically in physical human form, the masculine will be stronger than the feminine, physically stronger. Therefore, we would defer to the masculine to be able to add that brute force where it is needed, right? However, it might not be the case. You might end up with a woman that is stronger than the masculine next to her physically, and therefore you'd go the other way. So I'm asking you, please, just to get excited right now for what is coming that you might not yet see. Can you sense it? Okay. There are many, many patriarchal, I want to say bullies, So let's just own that. That's what's coming through. But those who are trying very hard to keep that old story alive. And for most of us, as we've risen into power as feminines, have not actually truly risen into our divine strength, our true strength. What we've done is we've emulated the wounded masculine. The police force is a great example of this, right? It's the way that the feminines have had to come into the police force. And again, I'm just coming back to a conversation I had recently about all of this, is to basically take on that same role. The same with being powerful in the workforce, like a female CEO. Is she leading the way a masculine CEO would, or is she finding her own feminine strength and leading that way through compassion, through discernment, through the ability to demonstrate vulnerability as strength? Because these are not typically the way we have been shown to lead in the past, and yet we are doing so now. So the main message here is to allow ourselves to open to the fact that in all of history and her story, our job right now is to take the best and leave the rest, to be very, very aware of not throwing something out completely, but actually seeing, is there value to this situation? What can I take from it that is useful, beneficial? What can I leave behind? So that you're constantly practicing discernment as you move forward on your path. As we are supporting the younger generation of masculines and feminines to step forward, we're basically giving the benefit of the doubt. We're remembering that in their youth, they have innocence on their side. They don't have a track record of years and years and years of doing the same thing. We're talking about someone who's 80 years old versus someone who's 14, 15, 18. How much longer has an 80-year-old been doing the same thing again and again and again versus a much younger masculine or feminine? You get what I'm talking about here. So benefit of the doubt for the youth is really important. At the same time, it's so important for us to be able to recognize where we do need to shift our messaging. And the accountability piece is not about calling out. It is about shedding light, shining light, saying, hey, you're saying this and you're doing this. Hey, you said this last time and this is what you did. What's going to be different this time? So we don't just practice blind faith, which is what we were taught before, any more than we are incredibly doubtful and fearful, and therefore we cannot see the evidence of change ahead. We are able to interact with what is going on, and we're saying, hey, this isn't going to happen on my watch. When our masculines are showing up in a way, and I'm talking about our partners that are not loving, we're saying, hey, this doesn't work for me. Please don't show up this way for me, because I will not respond to it in a way that is going to bring resolution. So I'm going to step away. Now, every one of us has this opportunity, and I'm just going to read you something that got sent to me because I think it's really, really powerful. And, you know, as we come into our power, what we're basically saying is we're no longer going to perpetuate the wounds of the past. So let's find this. Where is my Rise membership? Here we go. Okay, so this is about the fact that we can, and this isn't just about women, but I think it's really powerful. So again, Kate, you are being called on here a lot. You can be a kind person and still say no. Prioritize your needs. Set boundaries, disagree with people, be honest, challenge poor behavior, walk away from toxic environments, make mistakes, stand up for yourself, protect your time and space. Now you can listen back again and go, well, how much of that has been taught to me at school, in my workplace, by my parents, by my society, by my religion, by my culture? How much of that which I just shared has been? Because if it hasn't, this is us learning this new way, this woman's way. And I'm calling it the woman's way because, again, I want to honor Kate and what she was talking about and how she is practicing this so diligently in her own family and in her own example as a coach and as a teacher. And all of us are getting practice to do this. So if you are finding yourself feeling hopeless, if you're finding yourself really concerned about the state of the world because you're looking outwards, please turn that around now, okay? Start to look inwards and ask to see evidence of the change that is ahead, because we are the ones that are no longer being shackled by fear. We are the ones that are no longer being shackled by the conditioning of shame, of blame, and of guilt. And we're choosing to evolve beyond that. This means reprogramming our subconscious conditioning. This is what we do. This is what I do in my course, Fearless, Loved Up and Limitless. And you can understand it consciously, but you don't really have control over it until you are able to go through a deprogramming and a reprogramming process. And I mean a huge full-on sweep. And yes, you can have impact in certain areas. Yes, you can dig deep in certain areas. But for us to actually be able to really know we're not going to be controlled by these elements anymore means we go through a process of clearing them from our being so we can see them when they're in operation. We can't see them when they're in operation if we're conditioned to them because we have a blind spot to it. But when we're deconditioning, we can. And this is something I really learned over the time period of 2019 and 2022 when there was something going on globally. And thanks to the deconditioning and reprogramming I'd had, I was able to go, not sure about this, and also not buy into the alternate narrative fears that were playing out in the collective. Okay, this is very important because there's mainstream narrative, fear, 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 and then there's alternative narratives, fear, fear, fear. Do you know why fear is on both sides? Because the alternative narrative folk, many of them have not deconditioned from the programming either, so they can see it in a different way, but they're still fear motivated, struggle paradigm motivated, because that's just the way we've been wired. Okay, now we get to rewire ourselves. So here's a couple of things to put in your diary. First of all, I'm very excited to announce that my next round of Fearless, Loved Up and Limitless is going to be starting on Valentine's Day, 14th of February. Now, I am going to be the lead coach for this particular round, and this is my last rodeo in the sense that I have got a book that's basically ready to be published, and I will be on book tour next year. So I'm taking those of you who want to journey with me on this adventure. And as I said, I will then be gracefully stepping down to hand over to the lovely Kate, who is phenomenal, by the way. And she does assist me on this coaching program now presently as well. So you will have access to her. But essentially, that is coming. And in order to celebrate that and to give you a taste of it, I'm going to be hosting a free masterclass called Put Your Soul in Control to Align with Your Sacred Union. And that's going to be next Wednesday, the 31st of January, 7:30 p.m. GMT. So there's an event coming out. We've already put the event out. There's going to be a landing page coming out very shortly. So just keep an eye out on my socials and emails so you can join me for that. It's free. If you can show up live, do, because we're going to be working with activating energy. And if you've been around me in physical or me when I'm live, you will find that you really have the quantum leap experience in a different way when you can show up live. It just helps because that's when I'm actually transmitting the codes. Now, there are also a couple of other events. So I've just literally hosted the full moon in Leo, co-creation meditation and healing. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, why on earth would you come along and either catch the replay or join me live? Well, every month we get the opportunity to reset our intentions. We all know about New Year's resolutions. They last about 3 days, right? But resetting intention, being clear on what it is that we would like to focus on this particular month. What are the prevailing winds? What is going to help us to achieve where we want to go? How we set route, the navigation that we use is going to be dependent on the climate that we find ourselves in. So knowing what's ahead, which is there's certain elements we can work with, is what we do with the new moon intention setting. That's when our I am statements come about. That's when we have our intentions witnessed. And with the full moon, when we come to the co-creation, the healing, we ourselves are conduits for the collective. So as we clear for ourselves, we clear for the collective. And essentially what ends up happening is we clear up the resistance that has come up since we set the intentions. Now, this is, for those of you who are not in the position to be able to join me for the deep dive that's Fearless, Loved Up and Limitless, this is definitely a really important place to come to if you can, because it's going to start to chip away at that big wall that's ahead. Right. It also allows you to have live interaction time with me, which is for a fraction of what it would cost to otherwise join my full-on deprogramming and reprogramming course, Fearless. Also, we have a monthly masterclass. Now, this month's masterclass on the 28th of January. So this is part of my membership, the Manifesting Magic membership, full moon, new moon, and masterclass, and multidimensional yoga, no less. This particular month, I'm focusing on our divine inheritance and connecting to the abundance angels. Now, I think this is so important because so many of us find that we do not have the financial resources we would like. And I've seen this with those who supposedly on the surface look like they have plenty of money, well-paid jobs, beautiful big houses. They still seem to struggle with having enough at the end of each month. We kind of tend to live to our means. So, you know, it's going to be different. Survival at that level is a completely different thing to here, right? In terms of the fact that having your needs met, food, shelter, warmth, love. These are the basics. They're essential, right? And if you are in the fortunate position where you have those basic needs covered, then the next thing is really to start being able to work on self-actualization, because that is what's going to be allowing your soul to come through. So what this actually means from this perspective is working with increasing our capacity to receive more, and at the same time not increasing our outflow is really important. So can you open your divine inheritance is about opening to receiving more without having to just waste that away because you don't feel worthy and deserving. So can you imagine a huge funnel of receiving, and then you assimilate, and from your surplus you give. From your surplus there is plenty to give. You are receiving infinitely more than you are actually discharging. Most of us will find it's the other way around because we're struggle program dominant, which means putting out all the time, not getting so much back. And that's because we need plugging in and switching on. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing through the free masterclass on the 31st. Now, I know I might be confusing you, so I'm going to keep this simple. I do free events. I do paid for events. I do my best to activate you through the free events so you can then join me on paid for events. Does that make sense? Good. So, Manifesting Magic membership allows you to have 10 touch points a month live with me if you want to, for £99 or $111 a month. That is there. That is available. If that's where you can meet me today, meet me here. You will catch the replay of the new moon, the full moon, which I did yesterday, and you will be able to join me live on Sunday, 1 p.m. GMT, for the Conscious Wealth Co-Creation Masterclass, okay, which is all about aligning with and receiving our divine inheritance. And next Wednesday is when I'm offering the free Sacred Union activation event, which is put your soul in control to align with your sacred union. And this is where we're going to really be tuning into what it actually means to be soul-led, heart-centered, soul-led, 3 physical practices that you can embody right now that are going to allow you to bring more of your soul light in and start to radiate the frequency that can attract the sacred union love you want in this physical reality. Sound good? Yes, you do want to sign up for that. And yes, I will be sharing with you how you can join me on the Fearless program and what it is exactly that the Fearless program covers that all these other things don't. Because of course, why on earth would I be offering the same thing in different ways? I wouldn't. They're all steps leading you into where you want to go most. So I'm going to leave that there now. I want to inspire everybody, please, just to remember that this is really happening. If you choose to look for evidence of it, you will find it. Everyone I work with is programmed to start to see evidence of the new world. The more of us that see it, the more of us will co-create it. And no, I don't mean the world that others have told us we're going to have, the one where we will own nothing and be happy. That may or may not be true because none of us actually own anything anyway. Not in the long term, we ain't taking it with us. But no one else is going to tell us, okay, what's going to make us happy. We are authentic, autonomous, sovereign beings, learning to recognize just how powerful we are. And the feminine is leading the way here, because what we've been doing is working with the element of water to shed so much of the dense programming that we've been holding in our cellular memory, holding in the waters of our bodies. We've been holding this memory of pain, of persecution, of prejudice, of judgment, of criticism, of guilt, blame, and shame. And we're not doing it anymore. Okay, we've been cleansing these waters. It's been coming through rain. It's been coming through sweat. It's been coming through tears. It's been coming through phenomenal orgasms where our beautiful juices have been flowing everywhere. It's been coming through all the different ways that fluid can move through us. We are very powerful beings, beautiful ones. Let's own that power for the collective. Let's be the way showers, where we're not pointing fingers and judging and condemning and continuing this ridiculous, wrathful judgment that really isn't part of the new world. We're practicing compassion, discernment. We're practicing transparency, forgiveness, compassion, and integrity. And those are the qualities of the new earth leader. That's you, that's me, that's all of us together. And I'm going to leave that there. I love you. You are amazing. And I'm going to leave that for now. So check the text box out for links for how you can join with everything. If you'd like to book a desire mapping call with me to find out how you can work with me coaching wise, I'd be delighted for that. And keep an eye on announcements because we've got some great things coming. Take care for now.